Internal environment. In the previous session, we had discussed, in the previous sessions, we had discussed about the external environment. The environment, what all does the environment comprise of? The internal environment and the external environment. Now, this chapter is focused on the internal environment of the businesses, what all comprises or what all goes into this internal environment. Now, what all we had seen in internal environment, the company's policies, the employees, to some extent the suppliers, the culture of the organization, the financial aspects, the capabilities of the firm, the strengths of the firm. So all these are related to the internal environment. So here this chapter just focuses on this internal environmental analysis. Now, analyzing internal organization. Now here smart growth happens or occurs when a firm manages its need to grow with its capabilities successfully, and then only we say that the company has grown or company has been performing well. When we see growth in the company, maybe from the perspective of quality enhancement, satisfying the customer by providing them the quality goods, the brand name recognition, of course, the reflection of the share market for the company, the profits of the company. So all these are some of the factors which the people, the stakeholders, the organization, they take into account when they think about the growth of that organization or the company. Now, those who analyze the firm's internal organization, they should think from the customer's perspective and the competitor's perspective. Many of the companies, they work on the global platform. So they should use the global mindset. Now, what is a global mindset? Today, you see in India, many of the multinationals have entered. So global mindset is the ability to study an internal organization in ways that are not dependent on the assumption of a single country. It's not restricted to a single nation, its culture, its people, with reference to any of its context. Okay, so here the span or the boundaries should not be limited. When the company thinks of particular mindset, it should think from the perspective of global context. It should recognize that their firms must possess resources and capabilities which will allow understanding of responses to competitive situations or the contingency frameworks that are influenced by country-specific factors. So here, one cannot think of having a chalked out plan, okay, or a flow chart. When the companies think about the decision making or coming up with certain policies or strategies, they cannot have a common plan designed when they are entering into the different nations. Here, according to the need of that particular nation, these policies or strategies, they have to be molded from time to time with reference to different criteria or factors applicable for that particular nation. Now, those companies which have personals or people with the global mindset have a key resource for long-term competitive advantage in the global market. Analysis of firm's internal organization, it requires uh, the managers or those who are evaluating the firm to understand the firm's portfolio of resources. What exactly are the resources of the organization or the company, and the capabilities which the managers they have created with reference to these resources. Each and every individual firm possesses some resources and capabilities that the competitors or the other companies they may not have. Now, this leads to the development of a firm's core competencies or its competitive advantages. Now, understanding how to leverage the firm's particular resources and capabilities is the major key outcome of the decision makers while analyzing the internal organization. Now, each and every organization faces challenges or certain problems while operating their businesses, but it depends upon how the firm or the company moves ahead by shedding off these obstacles, by overcoming these problems, by making optimum use of its resources. Creating value is one of the important aspect. Now, what is basically a value? A value is measured by a product's performance characteristics and by its attributes for which customers are willing to buy. So that's why if you see today, most of the companies will think of advertising, they are trying to portray the value attached, the benefits attached to the offering, so that the customer understands what exactly is the bundle of products or the bundle of attributes that the company is offering to the end customers. When a customer purchases a product, okay, it's not that the customer just brings that item or a product. The customer also thinks of that product or offering from with respect to value offering. Value is not just the price or the tag, price tag attached to that offering. It is much more than that. Otherwise, people might not have went out to McDonald's to enjoy the value-based environment which the retail outlets of McDonald's provides, or Pizza Hut also for that instance, isn't it? So here there is some value attached along with the basic products which the customer takes into account. And whenever a customer thinks of purchasing or interacting with the company, now interacting with the company means maybe if the customer is purchasing the product, buying the product, or using that offering, we say the customer is in contact with the company or with that product. So here, whenever the customer uses that offering, he always is searching for value addition, whether I am satisfied with the offering, whether I am satisfied with the company. So the evaluation with reference to value framework is always going on. This calculation is moving along. Firms with the competitive advantage offer value to customer that is superior to its competitors. They always see to it that uh, the company makes certain differentiation with reference to its competitors. Now, firms can think of having innovative ideas or innovative offerings attached to the basic product to improve the value of that offering. And for this, again, the company uses its resources or the capabilities. Sometimes it does happen that the firms also fail to understand the customer's value approach. Now, for example, if you take an example of General Motors, which focused more on visual designing to create value for the buyers. So, here, one former GM customer said that when the people buy cars or trucks, they value more for durability, reliability, good fuel economy, or a low cost operation, which is more than the visual design of that automobile. So, what the company was perceiving that customers will look out just for the visual designs, but that's not the case. So, value is created by products low cost or by its highly differentiated features or a combination of low cost as well as high differentiation as compared to its competitors' offerings. Now, a business level strategy is more effective when the company exploits its core competencies and competitive advantages. If the company does not think of using its core competencies, it is a wastage then. It continues has to examine the effectiveness of the current position of the firm with reference to its competencies and try to analyze what would be the future, taking into consideration these environmental aspects, or you can say threats. The companies have to build the core competencies and use them against the competitors for the survival of the organization in today's competitive market. The industry characteristics and competitive strategies are estimated. Many companies, they estimate the role of firms' resources and capabilities in developing their competitive advantage. Here they have to think about the core competencies which the companies have, maybe with respect to the product or market position of the organization, the resources which the companies possess. And how the company can think of creating their own space in the market as compared to the competitors. Now, successful strategies, they need to have a core or a base of the company policies and processes with reference to competition and progress. Only then they will be able to see the advantages to move ahead, to beat the competitors. Now, when one thinks of the challenges in analysis of the internal organization, now the decision of the managers, it also involves the choice about the assets of the firms to be utilized to its optimum level, or a combination of different competencies to be mapped properly. Now, here the managers take a lot of efforts to make choices because somewhere they believe that all this contribute substantially towards the performance and the survival of the organization. Now here the decision making part involves analyzing the firm's assets, like identifying, developing, deploying, and protecting their resources, their capabilities, core competencies, which appear to be more relatively easy, but in actuality, in factual terms, it is actually difficult. It is challenging, one can say, especially when one thinks of exploring the international opportunities, it becomes much more challenging. Many a times, the companies also make mistakes in analyzing the firm's condition, and they cannot map properly the capabilities. Also, they do not take into consideration the future aspects or threats while defining the processes. If the managers are not on toes, if they do not take the cognizance, then might be a problem in future, because uh, day by day the technology is changing, the viewpoint of the stakeholder is also changing, the customer is more knowledgeable today. The customer tries to evaluate from their perspectives, and hence the role of companies has become more responsive towards these factors. Managers today must have the courage, they should have that confidence, the capacity to struggle and deal with the uncertainties in this business world, also the complexities. So here, for this analyzing internal organization, they face three basic challenges, that are the uncertainty in this environment, the complexities involved, and the intra-organizational conflicts. Now, managers face the uncertainties from the technological point of view, the economic point of view. Each and every nation has its own economy. They have their own political trends. Nothing is constant. The world is dynamic, especially the business world, it's dynamic. The political trends, they are changing. As the political trends are changing, the decisions do change. And here the companies need to have the transformation done. Maybe from the societal point of view, like changes in the societal values or shift in customer demands, their taste, their preferences, the changes in the government norms, new rules and regulations. And this increases the complexity, and hence the need arises to go for internal assessment of the organization. Now, intra-organization conflicts, they surface when the decisions are made about the core competencies or how well they serve the purpose. Now, in decision making, judgment is one of the important aspect. Whenever a manager takes a decision about some aspect, or there is a collaborative decision making process, judgment is one of the important thing. It is the capability of making successful decisions when no obviously a correct model or a particular rule policy is available. Here the One can say it's just the trial and error method many a times, because the situation is so demanding that it's the need of the hour that the companies take the decision based upon the current situation. Looking at all the possibilities, the company has to move ahead. Now, confidence, for example, it is one of the things which can lower value when a correct decision is not obvious. So, when one thinks of just making the decision based upon judgment, they need to take this attribute into consideration. So here the companies, they take huge risk, the managers take huge intelligent risk based upon their research, based upon their information while moving ahead. Now, executive judgment can be an important source of competitive advantage. Now, effective judgment, it allows the firm to build a strong reputation and retain loyalty of the stakeholders. Now, all these decisions are directly or indirectly going to affect the stakeholders, the investors, the employees, the customers, the suppliers. Whenever the company takes any decision, it's going to affect all of these stakeholders in one or the other way. Now, coming to resources, capabilities, and core competencies. These are the foundation of the competitive advantage on which the organizational strategies, they rest upon these pillars. The resources are bundled to create organizational capabilities. These capabilities are the firm's strengths. They are the core or basics of any organization on which the competitive strategies are built by the business organizations. Now, when we take the resources part into consideration, now what are the resources? It has a broad spectrum. The word resources, it includes a broad spectrum of the individual, social, and organizational phenomena. So here, when we say it's a competitive advantage, they are based upon the pool of resources. Now, for example, Amazon combines services and distribution resources to develop its competitive advantages. Now, the firm started as an online bookseller, directly shipping orders to customers. It quickly grew large and established a distribution network through which it could ship millions of different items to different customers throughout the world. Now, lacking Amazon's combination of resources, the traditional bricks and mortar companies found it difficult to establish effective online presence. So it was very much a problem for the competitors to sell their products online. These difficulties led some of them to develop partnerships with the Amazon. So instead of uh, having the competitive approach, the companies thought of having collaborative approach here. That's why now Amazon handles the online presence and shipping of goods of several firms, including their competitors also. Now, some of the firm's resources, they are tangible, while the others are intangible. Tangible resources, they are the assets that can be seen, that can be quantified, rather, you can say. Like we know the production capacity in terms of production equipment, the land the company is having, the manufacturing facilities, the distribution centers, the reporting structure, the warehouses, self-owned or maybe outsourced warehouses of the company. So here, these are all the tangible resources of the organization or of the companies. Now, when we speak about the intangible resources, they include the assets that are rooted deeply in firm's history and have accumulated over time. Now, these are inculcated in unique way. They are now these intangible resources are usually difficult for the competitors to copy. The way the people work together, the motivation of the people, the employees, the strive for the R&D department for innovation, all these are intangible resources or assets of the firm. Now, when we consider the tangible resources, there are four types of tangible resources. The first and foremost is the financial resources. Now, every company has its own balance sheet. So here, where they have where anyone can analyze the financial statements of the company and understand where the company stands, what is the financial position of the company. Now, financial resources, organization resources, physical and technological resources are the tangible as resources, while human resource, innovation resource and reputational resources are the intangible resources of the organization or of the companies. Now here, when we take into consideration the tangible resources, a firm's borrowing capacities and the status of its physical facilities are visible. The value of many of these tangible resources which the company establishes through the financial statements. So here, when we say it's a financial statement, it's not just the physical paperwork or the physical outcome, but the value attached to this is more important, which is again an intangible resource. You can say this intangible resource is reflected in form of the financial statement of the organization. So the value of resources is also constrained because of the are hard to leverage also. It is difficult to derive additional businesses or value from a tangible resource. Now, although we say that production assets are tangible, many of the processes which the company uses, they are defined in intangible forms or intangible terms. For example, if the company wants to go for the speeding up of deliveries, now in that case, the processes which the company used to procure the raw materials, entering the production lines, how this strategy to improve the speedy delivery or speedy manufacturing, it depends upon the company's internal policies and the processes to be defined. Now here when we say that company achieves or delivers the goods within a less time frame. So here it can think of having more orders also and timely placement, which adds to more customers. So this is the intangible resource, and the reflection is on the profit and loss statements, which is a tangible part. The learning and potential proprietary processes, which are associated with the tangible resource, maybe with reference to the manufacturing facilities. One can have something unique with reference to these attributes like quality control processes or manufacturing processes, the technology that develops over time and creates the competitive advantage. Similarly, one can have the organizational resources also. Now here the organizational resources in terms of the policies of the organization, the firm's formal structure, that is whether it is centralized, whether it is decentralized, how much leverage is given to a particular manager, whether the company is open to new ideas or it is just restricted, whether the flow is from top to bottom or bottom to top or both ways. So it's formal planning, controlling, and coordinating of the systems also plays a vital roles as far as the tangible resources is considered. In many of the companies, the employee has to follow the hierarchy, while in other companies, maybe anybody can think of communicating with the top management, the with reference to innovative ideas or as far as the improving the business situation or business scenario is considered. So these are all the organizational resources. The physical resources include the maybe the sophistication or location of the firm's plant, its equipment, its access to the raw material, relations with reference to suppliers. So how the company thinks of maintaining the relationships, what are the processes involved. So these are just the broader ideas or aspects. There are many things which are involved in this. The technological resources is one of the important aspects. Many of the companies, they bank upon their uh, technological competency, and they think of having the stock of technology through patenting or having the copyrights, trademarks, and confining the trade secrets also. So many of the companies try to focus on technology driven aspect. If you consider the electronic goods or the automobile company, majority of them, they are driven by the technological resources. Even the healthcare sector is also driven by the technological resources. Now here, how much machinery the company has, how much efficient the people are as far as the scientific base of research and development wing is considered. Now coming to the next part, that is intangible resources. The intangible resources include the human resource or the innovation resources and reputational resources. Now, compared to the tangible resources part, intangible are more superior or have more edge over the tangible resources. Tangible are, like everybody can visualize them. The competitors can also see it and they can think of mapping it. But when it comes to intangible ones, uh, the competitors cannot copy them because they are internally maintained by the organizations. In the global context, the success of any organization is due to its intellectual and system capabilities as compared to its physical resources or assets. The capacity to manage human intelligence and convert it into useful products or services is becoming critical to execute as more of the technologies are emerging and the competitors are ready with their strategies here. As intangible resources, they are less visible and more difficult for the competitors to copy or to understand, purchase, imitate, or substitute for firms prefer to rely on these rather than the tangible resources. The more the intangible resource is explored, the better is the sustainability for the companies by exploring this competitive advantage. One more benefit is that of these intangible resources is they can be leveraged, they can be shared among employees. It does not diminish with any one person since the values would be inculcated in the organization. If two people are sharing their individual knowledge, it can often be leveraged to create additional pool of knowledge and contributes to performance of the firm. The larger the inclusion of people or network of users, the more is the advantage or the benefit to each party. Now, intangible resource of reputation is an important attribute of competitive advantage. The company's reputation is widely considered to be valuable resource associated with the competitive advantage. Value creating reputation is a product of years of superior marketplace competence as perceived by various stakeholders. Now, a reputation of the company also indicates the level of awareness a firm has been able to achieve or develop among various stakeholders and the degree to which they hold the firm in their high esteem remark. Now, these are reflected from the point of view of stakeholders, that is customers also. If there are more repeat purchases or the customer value the company, then naturally it helps in strengthening the brand name of the organization. A well-known and highly valued brand name is an application of reputation as a source of the competitive advantage. Now, when a company thinks of having something innovative which would satisfy customers' needs and focuses or emphasizes on aggressive selling to facilitate firms, here the it is somewhere inculcating value towards maintaining the reputation of the company and the brand name. Now, there are many companies which bank upon this thing. If we think of the automobile companies, two-wheelers or the four-wheelers, GE Motors, you can take the example of it, or a Volkswagen company, the shoe manufacturers like Nike and Adidas, all are not just selling the products, but with it, they have some value attached to those products, and hence the importance of the brand name they received, because they have the value inculcation in the offerings which will satisfy the customers. Now, also the perceptions from the point of view of product quality, durability, and reliability is important. Also, the reputation with the suppliers. Because of the ability to influence performance, companies do everything to the utmost possible level to nurture and protect their brand name. Now, today, we just take the brand name of McDonald's or a Pizza Hut, or we will understand but we just think about the end offering. But here, the company at the back end, the company has taken much more effort to create the value inculcation and the brand name. Now, the company like PepsiCo also strived hard to maintain the brand name in the international scenario, especially in spite of having controversies in the Indian market. Still, the company could come up. The company struggled. It managed the issues which were controversial in the Indian scenario. These capabilities are also costly to imitate when one thinks of imitating them by the competitors firm, and hence the relevance of competitive advantage. Now, the competitors cannot clearly understand how the firm uses its capabilities as the basics for the competitive advantage. So, as a result, the firms are uncertain about the capabilities they should develop to duplicate the benefits of competitors' value creating strategy. Now, social complexity is the third reason that capabilities can be costly to copy or imitate. Social complexity means that at least some and frequently many of the firm's capabilities are the product of complex of social phenomena, interpersonal relationships, trust, friendships among managers and between managers and employees, and a firm's reputation with suppliers and customers are the examples of socially complex capabilities, where each and every party has its own individual thinking process or a thought process, and the company has to map with them. The company has to absorb the employees. It takes efforts. The training programs are conducted to mold the employees according to the need of the organization. Similarly, uh, maintaining relationships with the stakeholders also becomes difficult many a times. Also, there are non-substitutable capabilities. They are the capabilities that do not have strategic equivalence. Now, this is the final criterion for capability to be a source of competitive advantage. Two firms, two valuable firm resources are strategically equivalent when each can be separately exploited to implement the same strategies. They increase as they become more difficult to substitute. The more invisible the capabilities are, more difficult it is for firms to find substitutes, and the greater the challenge is to competitors trying to imitate a firm's value creating strategy. Now, casual ambiguity may make it difficult for the firms to learn as well as shift the progress, because the firm may not know how to improve the processes. Your copying is okay for imitating copying with reference to technology, but mapping up with the technological aspects becomes difficult for the organizations. Now, as far as the capabilities are considered, the capabilities exist when resources have been integrated to achieve a specific set of things or specific task. Now, these tasks may be human resource recruitment to product marketing or research and development activities. Now, critical to the building of competitive advantage or environment, capabilities are based on developing, carrying, and extending information and knowledge through the firm's human capital. Capabilities often evolve and develop over time. So here, when the companies enter the market, they try to understand the situations, whether they can cope up with the existing resources, with the existing strategies. Otherwise, the company thinks of changing them according to the need of the hour. Now, I've stated about PepsiCo company, which initially in India faced problems. There were social allegations with reference to depletion of water table in many of the areas. Hence, the company had to move ahead and look for more sustainable options. Also, they had problems with the suppliers of the bottling units, and the company had to change the strategy to maintain relations with these suppliers of the bottling units, bottling plants. So, as and when the time moves ahead, though the company have the capabilities, they need to exercise it, and unless and until they move ahead, they are implemented. Actually, the companies will not understand what are the problems which the organization will face. Similar is the case with reference to McDonald's. They had the capabilities, they had the core competencies. Only the thing needed was to map with the situation. So the capabilities are the often developed in specific functional areas, maybe with reference to marketing, research and development, or a part of that functional area. Now, the further part we will discuss in the next session. Any doubts up till here?
No, ma'am.
This is with reference to analyzing the core competencies or building core competencies of the company, of the organization. Today, if we take an example of the MNCs like HLL and PNG, which have been dominating the markets, okay, since decades. We have also Indian company like Patanjali, which has its own core competencies. What is the core competency of the company? How this company, Indian brand, is fighting with these multinationals? Hello. So here, against this MNCs, the company is, one thing is this, using the strategy of Make in India label. Okay. Second thing is it is somewhere focusing itself to the traditional Indian concepts of Ayurveda. And this has been a competitive edge with reference to the competitors, where these companies are in some of the areas, these MNCs have understood, or somewhere they are feeling the threat of losing the market share. And that's why they are moving ahead with the aggressive marketing. Now, today we will stop here. In the next session, we will move ahead with this core competencies. Okay, students. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.